So here we are on code check. Let's take a look at this code. So the function we know is buggy, but we have to produce the counterexample in order to refute this code. So the function has two parameters, month, which is an integer, and isLeap, which is a boolean, either true or false. And the function is supposed to return the number of days in that month. So no surprise, the answer is an integer. And of course we are asked to calculate the number of days given whether it is a leap year or not, because of course that will matter when the month is 2, which is February. It also tells us if the month is not between 1 to 12, then this function is supposed to return 0. Remember that a doc string is supposed to explain the purpose of this function, and a statement like this is very much considered part of its purpose. It's telling us how this function handles inputs that are legal according to the type hints, but are outside some permissible range. Sometimes the docstring will tell us inputs outside this range are actually not allowed, but here we're allowing someone to call this function with a month, let's say, that is more than 12 or less than 1, but it just says that in that case this function is going to return 0, indicating that that's not a legal month. And there's some examples here. This corresponds to February of a leap year, and that has a maximum of 29 days, and then a normal February, not in a leap year, has 28 days, and July, for example, has 31 days. So the code is supposed to look correct, and if you read it and just simply nod your head and agree, then you won't find anything wrong with it, because as an example, if I just read this, I say, oh, month is 2, and by the way, how nice they've given a comment here explaining that that's February. Yes, if it's February, then if isLeap is true, then we want to return 29, otherwise we want to return 28. So that seems perfectly reasonable. If the month is less than 7, so we're talking about January to July, then there is a clever formula that's given over here. You see, it turns out in the period from Jan to July, the odd numbered months have 31 days. So the expression that we're returning is 30 plus whatever remainder we get when we divide month by 2. So odd numbers will produce the remainder 1, and so that will give us 30 plus 1. Remember that this period includes February, but we've already handled the case for February. So it's important to remember that by the time we get to line 18, we know for sure that the month is not February. So if it is an even month in this range, then it can't be February, and so for that month, the correct answer is 30 plus, in this case, 0. Now here we have an elif. As we have seen, this could have been replaced with just an if, but there's nothing wrong with elif. On line 21, if the month is less than 12, so that means the only reason we are getting to line 21 is the month has to be not less than or equal to 7. What does it mean for the month to be not less than or equal to 7? It must be bigger than 7, which means since it's an integer, it must be 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12, and here we're checking, is it at most 12? Of course, the month could be even larger than 12, but that would be illegal. So if the month is less than or equal to 12, then we're talking about August, which is month 8, all the way up to December, which is month 12. And here the logic is reversed. Even numbered months have 31 days, and odd numbered months have 30 days. So here we use a slightly different expression. We calculate 31, and then we subtract the remainder from dividing by 2. So for odd numbered months like September and November, 9 and 11, we will calculate the remainder as 1, and we'll subtract that from 31, so we'll get 30 days, correct. And for even numbered months, we will just calculate this remainder as 0, so the answer will just be 31. So that seems all right. And finally, if the month is more than 12, that's an illegal month, so we return 0. Remember, that's what we were supposed to do. And this handles hopefully the case where the month is very small, and there again we return 0. So looking at this code, it reads beautifully. Where is the mistake? Well, we have to try this out. I hope the first thing you will try is just the given doc tests. Let's at least make sure those are correct. Just for completeness, I will try one to make sure we're all clear how to work this. So this time we have to give 2 arguments. So suppose I say the month is February, which is month 2, and let's say it's a leap year. Now I'm deliberately going to misspell true. Python is case sensitive. So if we want to say true, we have to spell it with a capital T. But suppose I made the mistake, I wrote it with a little t. Now what is the expected answer? Well, I'm expecting it to be 29. And let us say for some reason I believe this code is incorrect and I think it actually returns 28. So let me just check that. And the first thing it gives me is this very scary looking error message because it just is unable to handle this mistake. Name true. And it gives me a helpful error message. It says this is a name error. Did you mean capital T true? Now it's important to know how to read these messages carefully. Even though it says did you mean the string true, we're not going to write the string true because we really need to write the Boolean true. If I wrote the string true, then there I would get hopefully a more helpful error message which just tells me, look, it must be a Boolean. What you've given me is the string true. So we will remove the quotes. That is a Boolean value. And this time when we click on code check, it tells us that this function does not return the value 28. The given function, the one that's buggy, does not return 28. It actually returns 29, which is the correct answer, right? So if we actually trace this code on this input, month 2 is leap 2, we would see that we would come into this if condition, right? And since isLeap is true, we would return 29, not 28. So the expected answer is 29 and the value returned is also 29, and therefore this input is not a counterexample. This is an input on which the code actually works. So see if you can find the mistake.